Hello everybody, this is Mr. McNair, and this is a short video on multiplying polynomials. It's a little different than my other videos. I'm actually just going to go through some of the problems that I saw in the book that were similar to the homework problems that I gave. So let's start off here with number 28. Number 28, we're multiplying here three monomials together. Okay, when you're multiplying monomials together, you're just going to multiply the things that are alike. For instance, we have these coefficients out here of 15 and 1/3. And when we multiply those together, we get the number 5, right? So we're just going to write that in there. So 5. And then we're going to multiply the variables that are the same. For instance, x and x squared. Remember, when you multiply powers with the same base, you add the exponent, so that's x to the third. Then let's go ahead and go to the y's. We have a y squared here and a y cubed here. Y cubed times y squared is y to the fifth. Okay, and then lastly we have this z to the third times z to the fourth, and we add those exponents and get z to the seventh. And there we go. There's our final answer. All right, same thing here with number 31. Number 31, though, one thing I would like to caution you on. You see this negative sign right here? What is the coefficient that goes along with that? That's a -1. I would suggest that you put that in there so that when you multiply your coefficients together, you know you have a -3, a -2, and a -1 that you'll be multiplying. So when you multiply all of those together, you get -6. Let's go ahead and deal with the a's next. We have an a squared and an a cubed here. So a squared times a cubed is a to the fifth. And then lastly, we have b cubed, and b squared. Don't forget b is b to the first. So add those exponents, we get b to the sixth. And there's our answer. Great. Let's go into the next one. Here, we're no longer multiplying just monomials. Here we have a monomial times a polynomial. Specifically, it's a binomial. So we're going to take this monomial and we're going to distribute it into the parentheses, okay? So if we distribute here, 3x times 9x squared is 27x cubed. Remember, whenever you're doing distribution, you're always multiplying into something. All right, and then here also we have 3x times 4x, 3x times -4x actually, so that's -12x to the second. All right, don't forget the technical name for the distributive property is the distributive property of multiplication over addition and subtraction. So whenever you distribute into something, you're always multiplying. All right, here, this one, you have these two monomials out front. All right, what I would suggest you do in this problem is to go ahead and simplify those first. Let's go ahead and simplify those two monomials. So when you multiply this monomial times this one, notice that you have only one coefficient, that's the 5, so I'm just going to bring that down. We have an x squared times an x squared, which is x to the fourth. And then you have a y cubed times y, so that's a y to the fourth. All right, and then from there, I'm just going to go ahead and drop down this parentheses here. So I'm going to bring down my 6x plus y squared. All right, now the problem actually looks similar to number 37. We're just going to take this monomial and we're going to distribute it into the parentheses. Okay? So, if we were to do that and distribute, so let's multiply the coefficients together. 5 times 6, that's 30. X to the fourth times x, that's x to the fifth. And there is no y in the first term here, so we're just going to keep that as y to the fourth. Then we'll distribute to the second thing in that binomial. So we don't have a coefficient, so we're just going to keep the +5. We don't have an x value in that one, so we'll keep the x to the fourth. And y to the fourth times y squared is y to the sixth. And there's our final answer there. All right. Real quick, I'm just going to kind of interject something. When you're multiplying problems just like the last one, there really is no difference when you multiply something as simple as this. You take the 3 and you distribute it into the parentheses, and you'll get 3x plus 6. Well, in the last problem, it was the same thing that we were doing with this monomial. We're just distributing it into the parentheses. Okay, let's go into the next ones. Here we have m minus 5 in parentheses squared. Now, when you have a squared on the outside like this, right, you cannot distribute an exponent over addition or subtraction. You can't do that. And we talked about why we can't do that in class. What you want to do is just rewrite this in this expanded form. M minus 5 times m minus 5. All right, now we're just going to go ahead and do our FOIL, or our distribution. This m has to distribute to everything. So m times m, that's m squared. M times negative 5, that's negative 5m. And then we'll distribute this negative 5 to everything in there. All right, so negative 5 times m is negative 5m. And negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. All right, from there, we'll go ahead and combine our like terms. Nothing is like terms with an m squared, but negative 5m and negative 5m combine to be negative 10m. And then we'll drop down that positive 25. And there you go. There's our final answer there, our simplified answer. That's the same concept that we're going to do in number 48, actually. If we were to take number 48 and expand it out, we'd get 3x minus 4 times 3x minus 4. And once again, we're going to distribute. So distribute this 3x into the other parentheses. We would get 9x squared. 3x times negative 4 is negative 12x. Then we'll distribute this negative 4. Negative 4 times 3x is negative 12x. And negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Combine our like terms, which are here and here. We would get 9x squared. Negative 12x minus 12x is negative 24x. And positive 16 will just bring that down. One thing I do want to really stress, notice that our answer is 9x squared minus 24x plus 16. When you add like terms here, this negative 12x and this negative 12x, notice it doesn't become negative 24x squared. When you add like terms, the terms don't change. If there's a sentence or a phrase that I would want you to memorize here, that would be it. When you add like terms, the terms don't change. All right, this problem, similar to the last, we're still going to just distribute. So 5x times 2x, that's 10x squared. 5x times negative 1, that's negative 5x. And then let's distribute this 2. 2 times 2x, that's 4x. And 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Combine our like terms, and the only like terms we have are here and here. So we're just going to drop down that 10x squared. Negative 5x plus 4x is negative 1x. And then we'll drop down that minus 2. And there's our final answer. All right, same thing in number 52. We're going to distribute this 2x into the next parentheses. So 2x times 3x, that is 6x squared. 2x times 7, that's going to be 14x. Then we'll distribute that 7. 7 times 3x is 21x. 7 times 7 is 49. Combine our like terms, which are the positive 14x and the positive 21x. So we drop down this 6x squared. 14x plus 21x, that is positive 35x. And then drop down that positive 49. All right, and there's our answer. All right, next, number 55. This one, not too different, except here we have a binomial times a trinomial. Same thing, same concept here. We're going to take this 5x and we're going to distribute it into that parentheses, okay? So 5x times negative 2x cubed, that's negative 10x to the fourth. 5x times 4x, that's positive 20x squared. 5x times negative 3, that's going to be negative 15x. Then we'll distribute this negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 2x cubed is positive 2x cubed. Negative 1 times 4x, that's going to be negative 4x. And negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. I had to cross the border a little bit there. When you cross the border, let's change the border. All right, there we go. So from there, we're just going to go ahead and add like terms. Once again, this negative 10x to the fourth, there's nothing like terms with it, so we're just going to bring that down. That's gone. When you go in standard form, you always want to go from highest exponent on the variable to lowest. So let's go to this positive 2x cubed. There's nothing like terms with that, so we're just going to bring that down, positive 2x cubed. And then let's go to our squared. We have a positive 20x squared, and there's nothing like terms with that, so we'll bring that down and cross that out. From there, we have a negative 15x and a negative 4x. That adds up to negative 19x. So those are gone. And then we're just going to drop down that positive 3 that we had there. And that was a positive 3. So drop down that positive 3. And there's our final answer. Okay. All right, next we have x minus 4 in parentheses cubed. Now, just like when we had the exponent of 2, we're going to take this 3 and we're going to expand it out. We're going to expand this polynomial. So this is going to be x minus 4 times x minus 4 times x minus 4. Now, whenever you multiply 3 things together, and I'm going to divert from this a little bit. If you multiply 3 things together like 3 times 4 times 5, you always start off by multiplying any 2 of them. Like 4 times 5 is 20, and then you take the remaining number and multiply it by the previous answer. All right? As long as you only multiply 2 of them together, you're fine. 3 times 4 is 12, drop down that 5, 12 times 5 is 60. So it works no matter which way you go. So here, we're going to do the same concept. We're going to just pick 2 of them to multiply together. You can just multiply those 2. So x times x, that's x squared. X times negative 4, that's negative 4x. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And negative 4 times negative 4, that's positive 16. All right, if you added like terms, you get x squared minus 8x plus 16. So that's those first 2 multiplied together. All right, and then we're just going to take this remaining one and we're just going to drop it down. All right, we're just going to bring it down there. So we're going to bring down that next x minus 4, and we're going to do the same thing that we did in problem number 55. We're going to distribute. This x squared goes to both of them. So x squared times x, that will give you x to the third. X squared times negative 4, that's negative 4x squared. Then we'll distribute this negative 8x to both of them. Negative 8x times x is negative 8x squared. Negative 8x times negative 4, that's positive 32x. And then we'll distribute this 16. 16 times x, that's positive 16x. And 16 times negative 4, that's negative 64. I'll just bring it up there. From there, we combine our like terms. There's nothing like terms with this x cubed, so we'll just bring that down. And it's gone. Let's go with the squareds. Negative 4x squared and negative 8x squared. That combines to be negative 12x squared. So those are gone. Next, we have our 32x, positive 32x, and positive 16x. That adds up to positive 48x. Those are gone. And then we'll just go ahead and drop down that minus 64. All right. And there is our simplified answer. All right, great. All right, I hope this lesson has been helpful to you, and have an awesome, wonderful day.